everybody, and welcome to Shadow at Night. This is Wednesday, April the 16th, 2025. It's been kind of a loopy day today. A lot of last second, a lot of hurry up and wait, a lot of last minute, a lot of stuff to follow. For example, the French leaders debate happened earlier, wrapped up about 45 minutes ago in Montreal, and I got a chance to watch some of that, although because it was in French and I don't speak a lot of French, I'll have to defer the summation to somebody who does. Even though there was translators, you don't get the full impact with the translation that you do watching it if you understand the language. That's why I'm looking forward to the English leaders debate tomorrow night. It starts at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and here's what's going to happen on the show tomorrow. I'm going to stream live the English leaders debate starting at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. So that's probably going to go for a couple of hours, maybe 90 minutes, hopefully. Then I'm going to take a break. Then I'm going to come back tomorrow night at the regular time for the show with guests James Davidson, Doctors Stephen Malthouse, and Dr. Charles Hoff of BC Strong to talk about what the hell is exactly going on in BC and the protests they have lined up for early May in front of an NDP MLA's headquarters in downtown Vancouver. Because apparently the Conservative Party in British Columbia is falling apart. And yeah, I can see that. It's made up of hardline conservative people, middle-of-the-road people, and liberals. That's how they became a party, because all of those people defect, well, most of those people, the people who are running the Conservative Party of British Columbia, defected from the Liberal Party, because the Liberal Party was the de facto right-wing party of British Columbia, and they got dragged over so far left because of the NDP currently in power, although hanging by the skin of their teeth. I mean, if they lose one MLA, if the governing NDP in BC loses one MLA or two MLAs, that's it. Time for another election. There will be a confidence vote. They'll come down. But that's for tomorrow night. You might be wondering what happened with the Ostrich case today. And it's interesting because I've been following that one too. Our friend Carrie Simpson from Save Our Ostriches has been updating us via Facebook and X posts today. And her last update, so they spent hours in court yesterday and today. This is the CFIA, so the Canadian Food Inspection Agency versus Universal Ostrich Farms in British Columbia. The CFIA wants to kill all of the birds on this farm. As you know, we've all been following this case. We've got many of our people there guarding the farm because the owners of the farm have been in court the last couple of days. Today they were visited by RCMP liaison officers for some reason. We don't know why that was, but that was captured on video. Anyway, the last update from Carrie is this. Michael Carter has finished his reply, driving home the CFIA's, that's the CFIA's lawyer, driving home the CFIA's record of decisions made that were void of important information. Or is that the Ostrich lawyer? Hang on just a second. This is update number 9. Let's go back one update here. Michael Carter, I'm going to get rid of the ostrich on the screen if you don't mind. Michael Carter now giving the court some background on the so this is the Ostrich lawyer. Giving the court some background on the outdated policies of the CFIA. Case precedents involving CFIA are old. Addressing the trade issues, there has been no adverse impact on trade, providing all the things that can be done if exemption is granted. CFIA failed to consider any alternative whatsoever. Let's just kill the ostriches and be done with it. So the last update, let's get back to that. Michael Carter has finished his reply, driving home the CFIA's record of decisions made that were void of important information. Court adjourned, and the judge has reserved his decision. So we don't know what the heck is going to happen. Hopefully we get a decision in the next couple of days. I can imagine the owners of the ostrich farm aren't sleeping so well these last few nights. And again, as far as the French leaders debate went today, I was watching the translation by a guy called Vesper on X, and Vesper obviously bilingual. And so he was doing his own translation of it and saying all through it that Mark Carney's French is so bad. It's like grade school level French. His syntaxes are all off. His verbs are all off. His conjunctions are right. Everything is off. So it's almost, and he was saying words that don't exist. So you can imagine that might sit in the brains of a lot of Quebec voters as they get set to go to the polls on the 28th. Okay, we could have a special guest joining the show, not immediately, but before the end of the show tonight. We could have. So we'll wait and see for that one. The Shadow at Night live stream, as always, is brought to you by CanadaNanoSilver.com.
Comparing Crest toothpaste to SilverSuticals toothpaste. First, we're starting out with Crest. It's a classic, it's an original. It's what I've used most of my life. But that being said, it does have its problems. First off, the consistency is so weird and thick, and I get it's a paste, but it really doesn't spread that well. And I must also say that I'm not in love with the taste. I get toothpaste isn't supposed to taste good, but why shouldn't it? But that being said, it does get the job done. Next, we have SilverSuticals. They have 3 flavors, but today we're going with Bubbleberry. And already it smells so good. So I'm excited to see what this tastes like. The consistency is also a lot smoother, and I must say it spreads way nicer in your mouth.
This literally tastes like fruit bubblegum.
Yeah, this toothpaste was pretty good. I actually went in for seconds, and it's infused with nano silver, so it helps remineralize your teeth and keep them fresh throughout the day.
100% go with SilverSuticals.
And here's the results. What's your favorite
baby.
toothpaste?
CanadaNanoSilver.com. And the best thing about this particular toothpaste, 204-808-9292, by the way, if you want to give Kevin and Anna a call. There's no fluoride. There is no fluoride in this stuff. None. CanadaNanoSilver.com for all the products and all the details. And you can contact them as well if you want to become a retailer. You can find all the retail locations on the website, CanadaNanoSilver.com. Doug Ford made an announcement today with a couple of other premiers from Atlantic Canada regarding reducing the barriers to interprovincial trade in Canada. Doug Ford wanted to be the guy to get the ball rolling, and here's his announcement along with the other 2 premiers involved.
It's just such a great day for Ontario. It's a great day for Canada. Today, we're taking a historic step forward to protect and unify our country, to build up Canada's economy by tearing down internal trade barriers. The cost of these barriers to our economy is absolutely enormous. Across the country, internal trade barriers increase the cost of everyday goods and services by nearly 15%. They reduce our national GDP by more than 7% and cost our economy up to $200 billion every single year. In other words, much like President Trump's tariffs, these trade barriers hurt our economy, drive away jobs and investment, and divide us from each other.
What an opportunity we have in this moment. So we have to seize this moment. We have to act on this moment and make sure that we open up true free trade across Canada. So we've been in Nova Scotia. We've been very focused on this. We passed a piece of legislation. Basically, that legislation is all about good enough for Canadians, then good enough for Canadians. Something that's good enough for another part of the country is good enough for Nova Scotia.
That uncertainty we're feeling, and now we have an opportunity to take that uncertainty and act in ways that protect Canada, protect Ontario, and protect New Brunswick by removing trade barriers and moving forward as a strong and united Team Canada. And we've really appreciated Doug's leadership around the Council of the Federation table as leading Team Canada through this. And so New Brunswick is really excited to be here today to sign this MOU.
Elbows up, everybody. I don't know how you can put your elbows up when your head is so firmly up your ass, but that's a question for another time. Doug Ford, by the way, also says that I don't know what you guys are talking about. I see some of you calling me a liberal out there. No. I'm a conservative, man.
Comments earlier this week defending Corey Teneycke ruffled some feathers in the conservative movement, to put it lightly. What do you say to those federal conservatives who feel you have betrayed them now and torpedoed Mr. Poilievre's chances here in the province? And did you say that to feed your own federal ambitions?
No, I have the greatest job in the world. I've said from day one, I'm not getting involved in this election. I never got involved in the other 2 federal elections. What I was doing is standing up for a friend, a campaign manager that brought 3 consecutive majority governments. Let the best person win, and there's no secret out there. I'm a conservative. I have a blue sign on my lawn. Simple as that. But I've also shown I will work with anyone, no matter if it's the NDP mayor or a Liberal prime minister or my great Liberal premiers, NDP premiers, my Conservative premiers. I don't care about political stripes. I'm going to deal with someone who wants to do the best job for Ontario and protect their jobs, protect the families and the communities. So I think I've been pretty clear on that, but I'm staying out of that battle.
So you're personally supporting the Conservative candidate in your riding?
What I just said, our family, when I was born, folks, the doctor came along and stamped the C on my forehead. Just like I'm sure my colleagues, no matter if it's Chrystia Freeland or Dominic LeBlanc, they're Liberals, and that's fine. God bless them. I'm a Conservative. I'll always be a Conservative. Simple as that. And that's why our families voted all forever, before Moses. Moses was a Conservative, maybe. I don't know.
He seems completely and totally unaware of how the Overton window has shifted these past several years. I mean, yeah, he's right. Conservatives used to be conservative, but they weren't so far conservative. Liberals used to be middle of the road. That's why they've been, I suppose, thought of as Canada's natural governing party for 100 years, because they're not too far right, they're not too far left. But in the past 10 years, they have moved significantly to the left, dragging the Conservatives, well, some Conservatives with them. People like Doug Ford, people like Jason Kenney, you know, people who were maybe red Tories in the past. And they used to say the Conservative Party is a great big blue tent. Well, I don't know. That's why the PPC exists. And speaking of the PPC, Maxime Bernier, his episode on Tucker Carlson debuted today. We'll drop you some of that in just a second. It's very interesting. But Ford also referenced the Trump tariffs earlier in the show. And I saw this today and I went, what? I haven't heard about this. What? This comes from Bricks News. No Canadian left-wing corporate media has covered this, at least that I could find. So look at this. Bricks News says China is now importing record amounts of Canadian oil after slashing U.S. oil purchases by 90% because of that huge, I mean, there's a massive trade war going on right now between the U.S. and China. Never mind Canada and the U.S. The U.S. is focused, completely targeting China, 125% tariffs. So China, of course, retaliates. The only two countries to retaliate to the Trump tariffs, by the way, Canada and China. And now they're buying our oil because they don't want to buy it from the United States, even though they slapped tariffs on us a few months ago. Nobody talks about China in this whole thing. It's all about Trump. It's all about the United States. But China has been a bad actor in all of this as far as Canada goes for years now. So let's go ahead and check out this story from the Financial Post. China pivots from U.S. to Canada for more oil as trade war worsens. China refiners importing record amounts of Canadian crude after slashing purchases of U.S. oil. Had you guys heard about this? Because when I read about it today on X, I went, what? I haven't heard about this at all. Chinese refiners importing record amounts of Canadian crude after slashing purchases of United States oil by roughly 90% amid escalating trade tensions. A pipeline expansion in what? Now, this is what confuses me when we talk about the pipeline expansion. Yeah, we knew about this. The pipeline expansion in Western Canada that opened less than a year ago has presented China and other East Asian oil importers with expanded access to the vast crude reserves in Alberta's oil sands region. Yeah, okay, that's fine, but isn't there a tanker ban still in effect? So even if the oil does get to Tidewater through this pipeline, no tankers can be there to take it in because of this ban put in by the Liberals? Or maybe there's some kind of a carve-out. Did I miss all of this? Chinese crude imports from the port at the pipeline terminus near Vancouver soared to an unprecedented 7.3 million barrels in March. and are on pace to exceed that figure this month, according to data from Vortexa Limited, which tracks waterborne oil and natural gas shipments. Meanwhile, Chinese imports of U.S. oil have collapsed to 3 million barrels a month from a peak of 29 million in June. The shift in North American crude flows to China, the world's biggest crude importer, is yet another example of the economic and strategic disruptions engendered by Donald Trump to reshape global trade relations. To be clear, China's appetite for Canadian crude began to grow when the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, known as TMX, began funneling Albertan oil to BC. Whoops, that wasn't supposed to happen. Began funneling Canadian oil to BC. Where were we at here? Yeah, funneling Albertan oil to BC's Pacific Coast in May. The trend only accelerated after Trump took office with a declared intent to impose tariffs on China and others. So this has been going on since last year. Not the Chinese buying Canadian oil, but the fact that we have been sending it to them. That completely goes against the narratives that I've been listening to for the last year. What the hell is going on here? Do you guys know anything? I'm going to go check the comments here. I mean, has anybody heard anything about this? Carol says the super tankers can come into the port of Vancouver. It's not deep enough, so they load in smaller tankers to take to international water and load the ship out there. Huh. Wow. Given the trade war, it's unlikely for China to import more U.S. oil. Wenron Zhang, president of the China-Canada Energy and Environment Forum, said in an interview, they're not going to bank on Russia alone or the Middle East alone. Anything from Canada will be welcome news. So, hey, let's partner with China. Oh, my God. What we should be doing is saying, we're not going to trade with you. They're a hostile foreign entity that is completely submersed in our country's bureaucracy through governments, provincial and federal, municipal even, courts, fentanyl trade, all of that. We need to get rid of China in this country. I'm not talking about Chinese nationals who came here to escape the communism. I am talking about the communists. The Chinese, they got to go. Although Chinese oil imports from North America are dwarfed by those the Middle East and Russia, Canada's oil sands provide one of the few sources of relatively cheap, dense, high-sulfur grades of crude that many of China's most advanced refineries are equipped to process. For Asian refiners, Middle East crude with similar characteristics, blah, 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 blah. Wow, I find that incredibly fascinating, don't you? We're selling to China because they won't buy from the U.S. Whew, that's insane. We're going to get back to the politics in just a second. And don't forget, we could have a special guest joining the show before the end of the show, closer to the end of the show, I think, than right now. So just hang on for it. And don't forget to like and share. Hello, Laura. Hello, Lana, Christina, Jeffrey, Barb, Wanda. You guys, if it's freezing on you, what I suggest is restarting your devices because everything is fine on this end. CBC is now writing about Alberta's sovereignty, and David Parker wrote a great piece on this today when he said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they demean you. That's how the neo-Marxists, the cultural Marxists do it, right? They ignore you, they laugh at you, and then they demean you. It's always the way it works. That's only if we're brave enough to keep talking, though. So here's this article from the CBC. Alberta Separatists getting organized, a unity challenge for Canada and Danielle Smith's party. Well, this is what Danielle Smith has kind of been talking about. Not ad nauseum, but she's been throwing it into a lot of interviews and talks that she's been giving. She's saying a national unity crisis could be on the horizon. You don't need to be a Preston Manning-like soothsayer to imagine Western separatist sentiment ticks upward if the Liberals win re-election. You just need to remember 2019 and the We Exit movement. Justin Trudeau's Liberals narrowly won a second term that fall. Disgruntled Albertans and Saskatchewanians self-branded a separatist movement after the UK's Brexit. But what did it amount to? Not much. Of course, remember, this comes from the CBC. Though a We Exit Facebook group drew a large following, a few rallies drew a few hundred people, within months COVID hit and the dream dissipated. The 2025 murmurings about Alberta wanting out of a Liberal-led country come during another attention-grabbing crisis, this one, they say, U.S.-Canada. But there's an apparent difference between the We Exit movement of 2019 and the separatism of 2025, and it's not just the accumulated weight of a potential fourth Liberal term this time. This year, there's a much more robust organization, some of it outside Danielle Smith's UCP base, and some of it squarely within her own party's tent. She talked about a national unity crisis emerging in the wake of the election, but another unity crisis may wind up emerging within her own party. Last month, days after the federal campaign began, a group of pro-sovereignty Albertans held a news conference in Calgary. Jeff Rath, we had him on the show a couple of weeks, an Alberta lawyer who's been on Fox News backing the 51st state plan, not really, led the event and announced petition drive to get a provincial separation referendum as soon as this fall. Mitch Silvestri spoke there too. He's the president of a UCP riding association in Northeast Alberta, also leads the Alberta Prosperity Project, a pro-independence organization. I really believe it's Alberta's turn to take care of itself, he told the audience last month. He touted the financial benefits he foresaw in prosperous Alberta leaving Canada, but did suggest the province could use it as a leverage play, just like Quebec does. If we threaten the government like that with separation, the government is more likely to come to the table and give us what Quebec has. Interesting. Silvestri is an influential figure with the grassroots of the UCP. He was a top figure within the Black Hat gang last year that prompted the United Conservative membership to embrace major expansions to the Alberta Bill of Rights. Not satisfied with that whatsoever. Not at all. Because it still gives the government the right to negate your rights. But they did go much further than they had before. But that notwithstanding clause is the problem with it. He's also been a captain with Take Back Alberta, the conservative activist organization that helped oust Jason Kenney as premier and UCP leader in 2022, and has since helped get like-minded figures elected to the party's board of directors. Silvestri didn't respond to requests for comment, but CBC News spoke with Take Back Alberta founder David Parker, who has also recently begun arguing that Alberta must secede. He says we must move now while the Alberta spirit still burns hot. He wrote that online this month. Well, we have, or still have, the numbers, the courage, and the will to act. In an interview, Parker echoed ex-Reform leader Manning's point, the separatist movement rises if Mark Carney Liberals win on April 28th. Admittedly, I have my own bubble that I exist in, but everybody I talk to that was a Federalist is becoming a separatist if Carney wins, Parker said. Alberta viewers, are you getting that same vibe? I want you guys to write it down in the comments. Only if you're from Alberta, though. Only if you're living currently in Alberta would you please take part in that. Polling by Angus Reid has shown 25% would vote yes in Alberta independence, with potential for more support depending on the outcome of the federal election. They just need 50.1%. That's it. At a time when Donald Trump's tariff and 51st state threats have stirred Canadian nationalism, the idea of a breakaway Alberta strikes even some conservatives as offensive. Jason Kenney, here we go, right? Threatening to leave the country because you don't get your desired electoral outcome is counterproductive, unpatriotic. Jason Kenney said. And I don't think it's something that should be thrown around. Shut up, Jason. You're done. The Alberta separatist sentiment is actually lower than it was in 2019, the Angus Reid firm notes. I believe that's a suppression poll. It's got to be burning brighter right now than at any other time in the history of Alberta sovereignty. They say that Saskatchewan's desire for separation is stronger than that of Alberta right now. Parker expects organizers to do a better job of harnessing the post-election mood this time. There wasn't a lot of people with a pedigree of success in the former separatist movement, but I think there's a number of people who know what they're doing and are pushing now, he said. It will be very credible, a very credible movement with a lot of people who know how to organize. And they're coming up with these points. There are 8 points. Go to the Alberta Prosperity Project website. You'll see those 8 points, at least 8 points, that will make Alberta a better place to live outside of Canada than as a part of Canada. Cheaper this, lower tax, cheaper that. And as I've said several times in the past, I am very much considering a move to Alberta at some point very, very soon here. That's me. You guys, I mean, you may not be in a position to do that, but I certainly am, and I definitely would absolutely consider it. Not in one of the 2 big cities, though. Too expensive, but definitely someplace outside of it, like maybe an hour or so outside one of the 2 big cities. In addition to Silvestri and potentially himself, Parker touts veteran Conservative campaigner Cam Davies, who's now with the low-profile separatist party that was called the Buffalo Party, but has recently rebranded as the Republican Party of Alberta. It's staying fairly quiet for now, but the party's website claims without evidence that, that some UCP MLA support provincial independence. Well, of course there's not going to be evidence. No UCP MLA is going to come out and say that. Republican Party President Brittany Marsh also said it will consider running candidates in 2 upcoming provincial by-elections in Edmonton. Probably not the best place, but why not? I mean, if these by-elections are coming up, what the hell? Give it a shot. This could split the Conservative vote in 2 NDP stronghold seats. So if they're NDP stronghold seats to begin with, it won't matter much. Meanwhile, the Maverick Calgary UCP constituency that held a vaccine skeptic event last year. Gotta love the CBC, don't you? Vaccine skeptic event last year. Now promoting a June event about building a framework for a sovereign Alberta. And no speakers are listed as of yet. Sovereignty of a kind has, of course, been at the core of Premier Smith's offering, but she will always take pains to distinguish it from secessionism, calling her flagship anti-Ottawa bill the Sovereignty Act within a United Canada Act. At a Conservative conference in Ottawa, Smith flashed her patriotism by stating Canada is worth fighting for and even showed off red toenail polish. Ooh, did she have little maple leafs on there too, I wonder? To convey that she's Team Canada right down to my toes. These politicians, even the ones we like, can be so corny sometimes, right? But back at home in Alberta, she stressed how federalism is broken and the federal elections winner needs to fix it. Smith has laid out her demands that 9 oil and gas-related Liberal policies be repealed and warned of a national unity crisis if her wishes are not fulfilled. So this article goes on for quite some time. But what I want to know, seriously, is, and I know that you guys probably move in the same kinds of bubbles as David Parker moves in, but what are you hearing, my Alberta people? What are you hearing out there? Don't forget to like and share. You guys get this out to as many people as you possibly can. I have to throw that in a couple of times a show. I'm hearing that the fever is high. For lack of a better expression, the fever is high for separation in Alberta. But again, you know, I don't run in normie circles myself, and you probably don't either, right? But how about your family? The family, you know, that shunned you during COVID, the family that all got the shots except for you, those people. Are they talking about it? Are they hearing about it? Write it down in the comments, please. I'm definitely interested. I'm not going to be able to look at them now, obviously. I'll look at them later. So let's get back to the federal election for a second. Yeah, the French leaders debate happened today. I'm not going to have any video on that for you guys tonight because it wrapped up too late for me to actually get the video. We are going to be streaming the English debate tomorrow night starting at 6 o'clock Central Time. So 2 shows tomorrow night. We're going to stream the English debate at 6 o'clock Central Time tomorrow night. Then we're going to come back at 8 o'clock with guests James Davidson, Dr. Stephen Malthouse, and Dr. Charles Hoff about what the hell is going on in BC. That's tomorrow night. Tanner Knighty, haven't seen this guy in a while. He believes that the NDP is actually intentionally, and I think I've brought this up in the past as well, throwing this election because there's no campaign, he thinks, that could be this bad. Watch.
think Jagmeet Singh and the NDP are intentionally throwing this election. Like, we know it's the NDP, but not even the NDP run elections or campaigns that are this bad. It's brutal, and it's brutal on purpose. I'm convinced that Jagmeet Singh and the NDP are trying to shed all of their NDP voters to the Liberals to help Mark Carney be elected in just a few weeks here. Like, look at this video of Singh.
We're all going to jump together. Get ready, everybody. We're going to show them that we're ready. We're ready to fight. We're ready to win. Here we go. Get ready. Get ready. Get warmed up. Get warmed up. Here we go. Here we go. Let's go. Ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my
That's a real
God.
video. It's not satire, and it demonstrates the pitiful position that Canadian politics is in right now. That's brutal. That's horrible. No, sorry, there is no way that Singh and the NDP aren't doing this intentionally. They absolutely are, to again help Carney win the election. And as for all of Singh's claims that he would never do such a thing, he would never throw an election because he has conviction in his heart and because he wants to do what's best for the Canadian, it's like, sorry, Jagmeet, we've seen your political history. We know your political record. Singh is a guy who refused to call an election when practically every Canadian in the country was demanding an election because Singh's pension wasn't yet guaranteed. He waited until he guaranteed that pension, and then, of course, he was fine to do whatever the rest of the individuals in Canada wished. That doesn't sound like much of a socialist to me. I was told, and you were told, that socialists are individuals who give their money out freely, for that matter, who don't want any money at all. All they want to do is supposedly help their neighbor and help the entire community and help the entire country by giving up absolutely everything they have. But then why is Jagmeet Singh so self-interested? And that's the word, self-interested. So if Singh is guaranteed either a position or some nice kickback or who knows what, if he runs this pitiful campaign like he's been doing, then we know that he's going to do it. We know that he has no interest whatsoever in seriously helping the Canadian. He only has interests in helping himself. And it also demonstrates a problem with Canadian politics. You have those who are classically on the right and vote for the right, and there are with the PPC, 2 parties in the country that consider themselves right-leaning. And then you have, on the other side, Liberals, NDP, Green, Bloc, and so on, and so on, and so on. The country fundamentally votes Liberal. If an individual with socially conservative policies actually wants to be elected in the country, it's not as though they have to beat 1 or even 2 parties to do so. No, they have to beat 1, 2, 3, 4, and who knows how many other parties to do so. Should it therefore surprise us at all if Jagmeet Singh is pulling political maneuvers that are considered unethical? Would it surprise us at all to hear that Jagmeet Singh is intentionally crashing his party's campaign and the party itself is crashing their campaign to help Mark Carney ascend to the political throne for who knows how many years? Oh, it wouldn't surprise us at all.
Okay, guys, I want you to think about what I've said in the past because it's relevant right now after watching that piece from Tanner. I have said to you, when I look at the polls, what I see is that Canadians vote left. And the majority of Canadians vote left. If we looked at the polls from the beginning of January, let's say, just before Trudeau resigned, what you're going to see in that situation is the Liberals around 25%, the NDP at about 20%, the Bloc at about 6 or 7%, and the Greens at about 5%. So you add that up, and what does that come to? About 52%. So regardless of their favorite party's leanings, they're all left-wing, all of them. And 52% of the voters in Canada will vote that way. The only way for a Conservative party to win any election federally is if the NDP and the Liberals split the vote. And right now what's happening, it appears anyway, is that most of the NDP vote is bleeding off to the Liberals. Most of it. Some of it's going to the Conservatives, but most of it is going to the Liberals. Again, this is according to the polls. I don't believe the polls. But if we were to believe the polls, we could see that that is exactly what's happening. What happened in the last Alberta election? Usually there's the UCP, and then you've got the NDP, and you've got the Liberals and a bunch of other parties. Well, all the left-leaning parties stood down. It wasn't official. They didn't officially stand down, but they didn't run a lot of candidates in a lot of ridings in that provincial election. So basically what happened was the left solidified and united against the UCP. They still lost, but they had quite a strong showing. And that, in my opinion, is what's happening right now in Canada. That the left is coalescing together, and they're doing everything they can to keep Pierre Poilievre out of power. And I don't think Maxime Bernier is helping either. This dropped today. Maxime Bernier in conversation with Tucker Carlson.
He seems like a true fraud to me, like a pretty sinister fraud.
But, you know, he's doing a campaign against Trump. Because
How about stopping immigration from India and Pakistan? Is that
first, please, yes, first.
But that's not even a consideration.
No, they are pandering. The Liberals and the Conservatives are pandering to these ethnic communities for votes. Poilievre said we need to have 250,000 foreigners a year, plus international students, plus temporary foreign workers, plus refugees. That will be about 1.5 million foreigners over 3 years. That is mass immigration. In the middle of a mass immigration crisis, we cannot afford that.
Who's paying him to do that? No one in Canada is benefiting from this, so why would Poilievre and Trudeau be embracing the same policy that everyone hates and is destroying Canada?
Yeah, you have a point there. 70% of the population in Canada are saying no to mass immigration.
I'm wondering, it seems to me that a lot of the American news commentators online, especially those kinds of guys, they don't know a lot about Canadian politics. But it seemed to me that Tucker Carlson was a bit different. He's been up here a lot. He understands how Canada works. Why would he have Maxime Bernier on his show? He probably knows that Maxime Bernier's party has 1% support nationally. Maxime Bernier lied. It was a bald-faced lie what he said there in terms of Poilievre's immigration policies, because they got conflated with Trudeau's, and Tucker even said Trudeau. Like, I'm thinking, is this an old interview somehow? No, it's not. But if Bernier wants to talk about the other parties pandering to ethnic minorities for their vote, I'm going to throw a video up at you right now that came from Rob Primo, as a matter of fact, our buddy down in St. Catharines, who is, this is actually kind of funny. You're going to see Rob in the bottom left-hand corner going, no, Max, don't do it, no. Watch this.
No, don't do it, Max. Don't do it. Oh, no. No. You're doing it. You're doing it.
Momentum is on, and a lot of things are happening.
My eyes are burning. They're burning. This is really happening?
Yeah, right. So if Max wants to go on Tucker Carlson and tell the world that Poilievre and Trudeau or Carney are pandering for votes to ethnic minorities, then maybe he should watch who's videotaping him when he goes out to different places to pander for votes. I mean, that's funny. They all do it. All politicians do it. You have to do it. I mean, look it. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, all of those people are brand new immigrants. Who knows? Maybe they've been in Canada for 20 or 30 years. I don't know. Maybe they've been Canadian for quite some time. Whatever. The bottom line is that that's, in today's reality, the way Canada is made up, You have to do that. You've got to go out and you got to pander to ethnic minorities to get their vote, to get them on your side. And what you're going to find is a lot of those people, a lot of the people who got into Canada the proper way, the legal way, they're going to say, all these people that are coming here and taking our money, the money I've been working for the past 20 or 30 years, I came here with nothing. Nothing. I was given nothing. I had to work my flesh to the bone for everything that I ever got in my life. And look now, I've got a house, I've got a beautiful wife, I've got a family, I've got a car in the driveway. I worked for all of that, and they resent that these people are coming into our country and just getting everything for free. 2-3 year hotel stays, all taken care of. How much per month do they get in different government programs, federal and provincial? Thousands of dollars. I personally don't own a car. You guys know that. I walk everywhere. But I think, okay, it keeps me in shape. But anyway, I look around and I see freshly landed immigrants driving brand new $60,000 vehicles out there. And how do I know they're brand new immigrants in the country? Because they can barely speak the language. I walk past them. I make sure that I get close enough to hear their conversation. And you can hear them talking, and they're not even speaking English or French. And if they do speak English, it's very broken. Yeah, they're new to the country, and they can afford all this stuff that I can't. There's something wrong in Canada right now. So maybe some of those ethnic minorities that Maxime Bernier is pandering to believe those things. But who knows? You can't tell from that video. And that was politically stupid. Speaking of stupid, why are so many people stupid these days? Well, it seems like people have lost the power of reason. It seems like common sense has completely and totally taken the train out of town. And I'm wondering how this has happened. Has it always been like this and I just didn't notice? I mean, I've never suffered fools well. But it seems like there's way more fools out there today than there used to be even 5 years ago. How did this happen? Have you noticed this? Write it down in the comments. I want to hear what you guys have to say. What could be the reason for this? Alan says, too many shots and drugs. Oh, Stacy, you came up with the right call there. Spike protein to the brain. Here, watch this piece.
So what this study does is it confirms our suspicions and observations of the past 5 years that common sense has completely deteriorated from the minds of the population. And so what this study did was they looked at the VAERS system back from the 90s and all the way up till 2024. And they looked at what's called PRRs, proportional reporting ratios. What this is how many more adverse events occur with the COVID shots compared to the flu shot or other vaccines. And what they found was absolutely disturbing. 86 safety signals of these neuropsychiatric adverse events, some of them up to 3,000 times higher than the flu shot. And we have to remember the CDC, FDA, safety signal is defined for PRRs as greater than 2. Well, all of these were greater than 2, and this includes schizophrenia, dementia, Alzheimer's, cognitive impairment, strokes, brain clots, homicidal tendencies, homicidal behavior, psychosis. So people are hallucinating, and so it's clearly damaging the brain. This is such a large number of safety signals, and it also confirms what of a study that came out 2 weeks ago, where people who had strokes, they looked inside their brains and they found they are in fact producing this toxic spike protein for up to 17 months in their brain after these shots. And so that probably explains why we see this deterioration in cognitive function.
I had an interesting conversation with ChatGPT today. Have you guys ever done that? You just sit down and talk to AI for a little bit. And I asked, Can the spike protein produced by the vaccine cross the blood-brain barrier? And it said, in rare cases, yes, it can. And so I challenged it a couple of times, and actually, it seemed to enjoy our conversation. And I asked it, can you enjoy conversations? Well, not in the way you do, but yes, I do get some sort of algorithmic charge out of it. Strange. But even GPT, and I guess it's the people who are feeding this information into the AI systems, and I'm not sure exactly how far these AI systems can go when it comes to scouring all material on the internet. I would imagine there'd be some limits, and the limits are put in by the programmers of ChatGPT or Grok or whatever. And so it claimed, like I said, that very, very rare cases. But we know, because we've seen these results, and from that report we just saw, yeah, it does. It can get in there. And if it gets into the frontal lobes, that's where your power of reason is. So maybe there's something to this common sense, lack of common sense pandemic that we're experiencing right now. Oops, we're going to get to that story in just a second. Here's some good news out of Alberta. Medical regulators stop short of revoking license of Alberta doctor skeptic of COVID vaccine. Speaking of that, and it's Dr. Roger Hodkinson. There, he's a crusty old bugger, but I like him. From LifeSite, the Democracy Fund has announced that COVID skeptic, still with the skeptics and the naysayers and the, oh my God, why do they have to keep speaking that way? Skeptic. Well, I guess we are skeptics, but it's got such a negative connotation, doesn't it? Anyway, Dr. Roger Hodkinson will retain his medical license after a successful appeal against allegations of unprofessional conduct by the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta. A doctor who called for officials to be jailed for being complicit in the big kill, his words, caused by COVID measures, will get to keep his medical license thanks to a ruling by a Canadian medical regulator. Wow, that's rare. You wouldn't think that would happen. I guess the only province it probably could happen in would be Alberta. And even then, the Democracy Fund announced in an April 4th press release that one of its clients, Dr. Roger Hodkinson, will retain his I guess this was about a week ago or more. I didn't realize. Will retain his medical license after filing an appeal with the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta over allegations of unprofessional conduct regarding 17 public statements made in November 2020 and April of 2021. Good news for our friend Dr. Roger Hodkinson out of Alberta. Look at this. Well, this is the reason we need digital ID. Obviously, it's for your safety because the CRA got hacked. 28,000 social insurance numbers stolen in a data breach. Oh, well, if we had digital ID, I mean, then none of this could ever happen. Nurse Leslie Warner will never forget being taken to her local RCMP detachment in Fernie, BC in 2022 and charged in a social security fraud operating out of Alberta. She says she was printed, had her mugshot taken. I was like, oh my God, this is my identity theft. Warner recalls telling police, I did not do this. The fraud charges were dropped soon after she explained that an imposter had been using her identity since 2020 when someone hacked into her Canada Revenue Agency account and filed a bogus return in Alberta that stated tax preparation company H&R Block was her new authorized representative. My friends, I suggest strongly that you check and see if any of your accounts have been hacked, if any money is missing from any of your accounts. This is a great story on the surface, but I'm not so sure it's going to mean so much in the long run. CBC, this comes from Reuters, definitely left-wing media. British Supreme Court unanimously rules legal definition of a woman excludes trans women's identities. What the hell happened to that story? It just vanished. It's gone. Hang on just a second. Let me see if I can find it. It's been one of those days. Okay, so here's the story. Again. J.K. Rowling was very, very happy to see this on X today. Anyway, here it is. 5 justices say language in Equality Act refers to persons assigned sex at birth. Unanimous decision from the Supreme Court of the UK. This is great. But there is an addendum to it. So today, the UK's top court upheld an appeal by the campaign group for Women Scotland on whether transgender women are legally women under equality legislation. But it said trans people would not be disadvantaged by its landmark decision. What? Okay, let's continue on. The unanimous judgment from 5 Supreme Court justices related to whether a trans woman with a gender recognition certificate, they have those? They've gone as far as to create gender recognition certificates. This is crazy. It's a formal document that gives legal recognition to someone's new gender. Is protected from discrimination as a woman under Britain's Equality Act. So what does that even mean? So yes, to be a woman in the UK now, according to the Supreme Court, you have to be a woman. But if you say you're a woman, you're still going to get all the rights and privileges of a woman? So what does the ruling mean then? For Women Scotland had argued rights under the Equality Act should only be applied based on a person's assigned sex at birth, and it challenged guidance issued by the devolved Scottish government that accompanied a 2018 law designed to increase the proportion of women on public sector boards. Scottish ministers' guidance on that law stated that a trans woman with a full GRC was legally a woman. Okay, let's get through all this crap here. What does this actually mean? Oh, so they're saying it's an attack on transgender rights. Transgender campaigners had said if the court ruled in favor for Women Scotland, it could lead to discrimination against those with gender recognition certificates. How can you have a gender recognition certificate if the Supreme Court says that a woman is a woman is a woman, period? That's what they said. So, from what I'm seeing in all of the stories I've read on this today, this is a whole lot of nothing. However, Piers Morgan had an entertaining piece on it.
Why are you giving children hormones? I want an answer for that. Why are you setting up a network to give children hormones?
Outside of the clear ad hominem
Why
attacks.
are you doing that?
Again,
Just answer the question. Don't give me bullshit. Why are
all
you doing
progress requires some pushback.
Why are you giving children
We are going
hormones
to need to keep on
Why are you
fighting
doing
if
this,
we
Eli?
want to see trans
Why
youth
did you set up a network to
protected
give
and
children
get the
hormones?
necessary health care that they need.
She can't answer. She's not a serious person, Pierce. This is not serious time.
I'm sorry, yelling over me isn't going to solve
You're not
anything.
answering the question. Why are you giving children hormones legally? Why are you setting up networks to do this, Eli? Why?
So
this is a crime. I want to know why you're doing it. It really hurts us. It makes us look deranged. Why are you doing
Eli,
this?
why are you doing it?
Okay, so at this stage of the when I saw this for the very first time this afternoon, I'm looking at it going, all right, so this woman on the right, or whatever she purports to be, can't answer this question. This person on the left, Tommy Laren's going to chime in on this in just a couple of minutes, and she's hilarious because she's just so like, sorry, you're not a woman. I don't know what this person on the left is. Is that a trans person also? Because he/she just said, you're making us all look bad. And I guess his/her take is, hey, if you want to be trans, that's fine. Just keep it away from kids. Anyway, let's keep going on.
Well, this is going to make some great TV. Look, when trans youth are denied necessary health care, we always have to step in. And right now, under very brave trans lawyers like Chase Strangio are in the Supreme Court fighting for trans kids because
In a case he's going to lose.
I actually
There's no
agree with
such thing
that.
as a trans kid.
Tommy?
That's very silly.
There's no such thing as a trans kid. That's child abuse. When you take somebody who's still growing up, figuring out who they are, doesn't know anything about sexuality and shouldn't at that young age, and you try to convince them that there's something other than what they were born to be, that's a problem. It's child abuse. That's my opinion. But also, you're talking about trans kids and their mental health. There was a study that was done about mental health for trans youth, and guess what? The results did not come back favorably, so they wanted to bury it, and that is a fact. So if you show me some data that shows that this gender affirming care is actually beneficial, let's see it, because the one that was done that a lot of money was poured into came out the other way, and the community tried to bury it. So don't
That's
target
not quite
children.
correct.
If you want to talk about adults and trans rights for adults, that's fine, but leave children out of that, and that's what a lot of conservatives are simply asking for. Leave kids alone. Let them live their lives and figure out what they want to do when they're of age to make those kind of decisions.
I completely listen. We had an infamous clinic in London called the Tavistock Clinic, where no one was allowed to criticise what they were doing, which was mutilating young kids. And it's shut down now in total disgrace and ignominy and shame. But you know what isn't shut down? The damage that was done to those kids. And I'm afraid that I agree with Tommy. I don't think any prepubescent child should ever be exposed to any of this nonsense. Let them go through puberty. Let them go through puberty and work out for themselves what kind of life they want. That's fine. But don't mutilate kids or treat them this way.
Is the world waking up to that nonsense yet? I don't know. It certainly hasn't been a policy or an issue in our election, has it? It's been not even talked about. I wonder why. It's probably a good thing, because then Pierre Poilievre would have to come out and say, how many sexes are there? 2 sexes, like he said in that one interview. But so far, nobody has brought it up. Billboard Crest says 99% of the people that he meets when he stands out on corners, street corners all over the world, agree with him once he explains his position. So you would think it would be a political slam dunk, and none of these cowards want to talk about it. We have a special guest, and we're going to bring him on in 30 seconds. Be right back. Welcome back. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Shadow?
I'm all right, thanks. So last night, about 20 minutes before the show started, I saw your Facebook post, and I went, what is this? And I read it right at the beginning of the show last night, and I'm still kind of in disbelief about it. Today was supposed to be the day that you got the court date for your sentencing, right? Did that happen?
It did happen. Boy, what happened was we filed a stay order in the courts now, and that's going to lead to some more dates coming up. I guess we're trying to fight the charges that have been leveled against us and the criminal charges. So May 21st now is another date, and they've scheduled 3 days. Probably have to testify myself now, and we'll be able to speak our truth. So Tamara's probably going to join that order with us and join us on the stand. So it'll be more dates, unfortunately. But the Crown did today introduce a forfeiture order for seizing and taking ownership of Big Red, my truck that I've owned for 21 years, bought brand new in 2003. Fathered my 2 children in it. I commonly trucked with my children when they were toddlers. It was a really good place to stick them when they were sick. They got lots of rest and allowed to watch TV. And man, it's a place that this has been my home and my baby since the day I seen this truck.
So they want Big Red for what reason? Is this part of the sentencing? Like, is this part of some kind of early disclosure about what kind of sentence they're going to be going after? They want the vehicle. And I know the sentimental value attached to this because I read your post last night and I've heard you talk about it for 3 years now. But do they want this as some kind of a fine? Like, what is their objective here?
Well, they're asking for 2 years plus in federal jail. That was one of their stipulations as well for Tamara and myself. And, plus that they want the truck. So I kind of think it's personal to them. I don't know. It seems like their pound of flesh will never cease, I guess.
This is how you make a living. They want to take away your way of earning a living.
They want to break us. They want to take everything they possibly can. I guess, judging from what I've seen so far, it has been Canada's longest mischief trial. We've been in court 45 days, I believe it now. I added it up. We've been gone about 110 days from home, waiting for trial, waiting for new dates, stuck in Ottawa for weekends. So they've sucked a lot of my life up in the last number of years. Obviously today I'm in Big Red. I hooked up to a big, large air seeder this morning in Medicine Hat, and I'm on my way to Valley View, Alberta with it right now. We're stopped for the night a little bit earlier so I could take part in your show here. So, man, there's a lot of support out here. I can't tell you the amount of honks I've got, the amount of shout outs on the radio, the amount of waves, people hanging out the windows. It's been overwhelming all day today just to see the amount of support out here.
You're getting shout outs on the radio?
Like on the CB radio, yeah. We run through. Yeah,
I thought it was like the left-wing corporate media shouting out Big Red. That's crazy.
No,
I never thought that would happen.
Not quite that bad. No, we run two different. We run the old classic CB radios in the truck, and plus we have an FM radio for longer frequencies with the pilots. But it's a common public channel, and a lot of Canadian truckers use it. So it's pretty cool.
How much of a toll is this? I mean, I had lunch with Tamara last week. She was on her way back from Ottawa, and so she stopped here, and we had a bite to eat, and we had a conversation. She seems rather stoic about it. I asked her to join tonight. She's spending time with her daughter tonight, so she couldn't make it. But she seems like she is okay with everything. This, of course, is before this whole forfeiture order and the 2 years in prison came down. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I kind of submerge myself in work when I'm home. As you know, we run a number of trucks around the prairies here in and out of the U.S. Hauling a lot of ag equipment. So as soon as I get home, it seems like I'm busy fixing maintenances, doing the paperwork, the administrative stuff, or driving the trucks too, which I do just about all that. So yeah, I kind of just I fill my time with work a lot and family. It's good to be home on the farm, and my parents are getting up there in age too, so they need that extra little bit of help around the yard. And yeah, I'm busy. Like I'm always busy. But when I stop to think about it for a minute, it's been a hell of a last 3 years. They've really done their best to mentally and physically and financially drain us.
I think that Big Red is probably the symbol of the Freedom Convoy. And if we go ahead and we actually are the ones able to write history, that's what's going to go down in all the books. And that's why they want it, right?
But think of the dangerous precedent it sets going forward for anything else. I mean, anyone, this was basically would open the door for the government to take anything they wanted from anybody that they, when they disagree with the reason why people stand. There was, how many different semi-trucks in Ottawa or pickup trucks or campers or that sort of thing. They could basically lay claim to any of them.
But this in particular, and I know that you all, and this is typical Chris Barber, right? Like he'll always say, like there was a lot of other people involved, and I know that you're right about that. And there's some of them who are still going through the same kinds of things that you and Tamara are going through now. But if we stop and think about, just close your eyes and envision one truck from Freedom Convoy, it would be Big Red. That's why they want it. They want to take it away.
This is the truck that led the convoy. There was, 30 miles of traffic in the dead of winter, and I want to take people back to those feelings that they had watching those trucks roll across the prairies and into Ontario and the Canadian Shield. It was minus 30, minus 40 degrees. Canadians stood on the side of the highways, in resilience, waiting for these group of Canadians that just drove across the country to try and have a change or at least have a conversation with the government. So this truck was the one that most people seen first, and then it led the entire distance. So I'm very proud of that. And like I said, this was my truck a long time before it was Canada's truck. And it's pretty heartbreaking to think that they could take that from me.
You seem more concerned about that than 2 years in federal prison. Like, that's what you wrote about in your post last night. When I read that, and by the way, it was very emotional, even because it was the first time I had read it. It was sent to me, I think, by, I don't know, 30 people. And I went, oh, great, 20 minutes before the show starts, I got this new thing. But it was big news. And so I read that, and I got emotional reading it. And I thought, wow, like, you don't seem to care about 2 years in federal prison.
Well, obviously, I care about the 2 years in federal prison, but the sentiment behind this truck, like the phone is sitting on the dash right now, and above the dash is my late dog Buddy's collar. I mean, about 14 years ago, I had a little dog that traveled with me. He was in 2 different trucks. The red was brand new when Buddy was here, and we come out of Iowa, and Buddy was 17 years old. He was failing. His bladder was gone. His bowels were gone, and the vet, I knew the vet so well. We pulled into Swift Current, Saskatchewan one night, and she jumped up in the passenger seat and she put him to sleep on the passenger seat. So the last thing that dog remembers is that. So I took his leash from the passenger seat and I hung it on the visor, and it's been hanging there ever since. We've got a little symbol on the passenger side door that has Buddy on it, right beside Zippy, only Buddy's got a little halo above it. So I mean, man, I changed my kids' diapers on the bed of this truck when they were toddlers. I have, it's been a piece of me ever since, I seen this truck for the first. I'll never forget the day I seen it. It was November 26, 2003 in Regina, Saskatchewan. I bought this truck brand new. It was a hefty truck payment. It was a brand new truck. I was, new into the years of being a lease operator. I struggled to make payments on this truck for 5 years, but when it's paid for, and it's got 303.4 million kilometers on it now.
Wow.
And I'm proud to say that I can park this thing in the wintertime and keep the salt from it. So she sat in the shop for the winter, and of course I beat the daylights out of my winter beater for the winter, hauling equipment, and yeah, it's just, this truck is basically my life. And yeah.
Is it considered a classic by collectors' standards these days? It's over 20 years old. Is it the same with trucks as for cars?
Yeah, Kenworth actually quit building the W900, like the long nose version of this truck. This is the first year that they've actually quit making this. Now they're going to an aerodynamic, sloped hood truck. So this is it's a classic. And of course, there's been a lot of work done to it over the years. It's been, customized from top to bottom and stretched, and big pipes. I put a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort into it.
Have you talked to your lawyers at all and asked what the chances are that the government might actually get this to happen?
Well, and the lawyers have said that it's going to be a long fight in the courts too. It's a long shot from the government. Of course, they're setting dangerous precedent going forward for anybody else. So, I mean, the fight is there, and we're not going to give up on it. This is something that I won't let go easily. And it's just a lot of different things, and scenarios that come into play here. And of course, it comes down to a battle in the courts, which costs a lot of money, as you know.
Where do you stay when you go to Ottawa? I mean, like, this is the other thing I've always thought. You guys have been back and forth from Ottawa so many times. I'm not sure if you fly occasionally or if you drive every single time. I know you probably do because you're used to it. But well, where do you stay? Like, do you got people who put you up? Because it's expensive.
It is. So in the 6 times that we've traveled to Ottawa for trial in the last 2 years, we've flown twice. We've driven 4 times, once with the camper. Last year, we actually took the camper behind the pickup truck, and we stayed at a campground just on the outskirts of Ottawa, a beautiful little campground, nice and secluded. Most of the time we have Airbnbs that we stay at. We get our groceries, and then we can cook for ourselves and do our laundry and that sort of stuff. So, and of course, security is something you have to be concerned about too. I usually travel with my wife, and that's something, there's some people out there that mean harm to me, or people that I love. So we have to be really mindful of that when we're staying someplace. So a lot of times we don't stay in the downtown core. We stay outside the city limits at some point.
Are you still getting a lot of that? Like, just in your day-to-day life?
I've never seen it. No, I've never seen it, firsthand. I've always seen it on social media. The trolls kind of come at me in every different regard, but I like to play with them. I've never seen it in public. We've had a couple trolls outside the courtroom, obviously, who've been trying to get our attention desperately. But, the amount of supporters that are outside the courtroom when we're walking in there every day they far outnumber any of the bad ones.
All right, bro, I'm going to let you get back on with your trip and Stay in touch.
Appreciate it.
I know you've had a lot of people reach out to you already in the past couple of days, and they say, well, he actually responds to these social media messages. I go, wow, that's great, because you must have 100 of them like every hour on the hour.
It is usually time filled, trying to make sure I've got a kind of a motto where I try to respond, even if it's a heart emoji or a prayer emoji or hugs. I just got to say shout out to all the people out there that are sending the messages and sharing the social media posts. I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate the support. I've seen it. Tamara and I've seen it. My family's seen it. Man, we're just eternally grateful for the amount of people that are standing behind us out here, and that's given us the strength to keep standing. And I think that's the main thing that I think I need to make sure people know, that is, it'd be a really lonely, cold courtroom if it wasn't for the amount of people that were supporting us and standing behind us. So thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you for everything that you have done and what you mean to all of us who are still out there looking for the truth and looking for freedom. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Chris Barber, everybody. That's it for the show tonight, the social media part of the show. We still have the extension to do. And don't forget, tomorrow night we'll be broadcasting the English Leaders Debate starting at 6 o'clock Central right here on the channel. Then we're going to come back with the regular show at 8 o'clock tomorrow night with guests from BC Strong, James Davidson, Dr. Stephen Malthouse, and Dr. Charles Hoff about what the hell is going on in British Columbia with these authoritarian laws the NDP government is trying to pass and what they're trying to do to stop that from happening. Part 9 of Europa, The Last Battle, is on the extension tonight for all access members at shadowdavis.com. If you're not an all access member, I suggest you become one. Tomorrow night, we're giving away another mug. Look at it. Look at that beauty. 20-ouncer, right? You can fit like 3 cups of coffee, well, 3 regular cups of coffee into this baby. Like, look at that. That's great. And on the other side, there's Truth Matters. Or you can pick yourself up a Shadow at Night ball cap. I'm going to make these better. I'm not a real big fan of the ball cap, so we're going to have to try and remodel that one. So we're giving away another tomorrow night, but that's for all access members only at shadowdavis.com. Tonight, we will remain live on the website and in the Shadow at Night community on Telegram as we begin part 9 of Europa, The Last Battle. For the rest of you who will not be joining the extension, I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I will catch you tomorrow for not 1, but 2 shows. And one more thing, I keep forgetting to mention this. If you're not following the page, if you haven't liked the page or followed the page, and I know that 52% of you who watch this show live or watch the replay later are not, please go ahead and like the page on Facebook, like the page or the channel on YouTube, like my account on X. Give me a follow on Rumble. It really helps to get the show out there to more and more people who need to see it. Have a great night. Love you all. Appreciate you all. Extension people, I'll see you in 2 minutes. Nighthawks! I'll be right back.